Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. For most of our life, the power grid has really just functioned like this invisible safety net.
Yeah, completely taken for granted.
Right, it's just binary, it's clean, it's comforting. You flip a switch, the room lights up, you plug in a laptop, and, the little battery icon turns green.
Exactly.
We've just been conditioned to trust that the hum of electricity will always be there in the background. But, as extreme weather patterns intensify and our aging infrastructure just really struggles to keep up, that invisible net is suddenly tearing.
It really is. The expectation of permanence is just completely breaking down right now. You see it across the entire business landscape.
Absolutely.
Grid reliability has shifted. It's gone from being this minor facility management issue into a massive looming question. And that's for both individual households and multinational corporations.
Which brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We were looking at a comprehensive review from smartkeys.org, written by Felix Römer.
It's a great piece.
It really is. It's a meticulous, incredibly detailed breakdown of the Jackery Explorer line of portable power stations. And our goal today is to really extract the strategic insights from this source. We're going to explore how portable power has evolved from, just being a fun niche hobby for camping enthusiasts.
Right, like charging a phone by a campfire.
Exactly. Evolving from that into an absolute critical asset for modern professionals, remote workers, and honestly, just overall business efficiency.
Yeah, and the shift in perspective here is vital. Felix Römer's review frames these power stations not as, oversized novelty phone chargers, but as necessary layers of decentralized infrastructure.
Decentralized infrastructure, I like that.
Right. We are analyzing a complete redefinition of what a reliable workspace actually looks like when you can no longer trust the wall socket.
Okay, let's unpack this. I was trying to find a good analogy to capture how this feels, and it actually takes me back a few decades.
Oh boy, where are we going with this?
Relying solely on the traditional power grid today feels remarkably similar to relying on dial-up internet back in the 90s.
Oh, the screeching modem.
Yes.
Yes.
If you remember that sound, you know the feeling. Dial-up was perfectly fine for casually reading a static web page. But the absolute second you had a massive file to upload or, you were in the middle of a critical task, someone in the kitchen would pick up the landline phone and your connection would drop.
Just instant panic.
Poof. Hours of work gone in an instant. And today, our reliance on the grid carries that exact same underlying anxiety. We are all just waiting for someone to pick up the proverbial landline. So why is this specific hardware review essential reading for workforce contingency planning right now?
Well, that anxiety is precisely why it's essential. The focus in the article is heavily weighted toward core reliability features over flashy gimmicks.
Right.
Römer highlights pure sine wave output, which basically means it delivers clean power that won't fry your sensitive electronics.
Essential for laptops and servers.
Exactly. He also praises the incredibly legible diagnostic displays and just predictable behavior under extreme load. When your livelihood depends on your server staying online or a client presentation going flawlessly, a sudden brownout at 2 in the afternoon isn't just a minor inconvenience anymore.
It's a disaster.
It is a direct hit to your productivity and your reputation.
And looking at the sheer variety of hardware in this review, the foundation of why these devices have suddenly become viable long-term investments, it comes down to a massive technological shift in the battery chemistry itself. We're looking at a hard pivot away from the older lithium-ion packs.
Yeah, this is huge. The transition detailed here is the move to LiFePO4 or lithium iron phosphate battery cells.
Right.
And the difference in actual lifespan between this new chemistry and the old standard is just staggering.
Yeah.
Current Explorer models using LiFePO4 are rated for roughly 4,000 complete charge cycles.
Wow.
Yeah, 4,000, while still retaining 70% or more of their original out-of-the-box capacity.
Let's put that 4,000 cycle number into context for you guys because it sounds a bit abstract. The older NMC, or nickel manganese cobalt battery packs, which is that older standard chemistry we used to see in early laptops, early electric vehicles, and even the original Jackery Explorer 1000, those were known to degrade much faster.
Oh, way faster.
You were lucky to get a few hundred cycles, maybe a low 1,000, before you started noticing a massive drop-off in how long the battery would actually hold a charge. You'd unplug your laptop and watch it die 20 minutes later.
What's fascinating here is that LiFePO4 also introduces a completely different baseline for thermal stability.
Meaning heat doesn't ruin it.
Right. Storing an older, highly volatile battery chemistry in a hot Texas garage over the summer, or keeping it locked in the trunk of a work vehicle that presented genuine degradation issues and, honestly, safety risks.
Oh, right, the swelling batteries.
Exactly. But lithium iron phosphate handles severe temperature fluctuations without compromising the internal cellular structure.
Here's where it gets really interesting, but let me push back a bit. If someone is just looking to keep a laptop alive during a 2-hour storm, do they really care about 4,000 cycles? Or is that just spec sheet padding? Just a way to justify a premium price tag?
That's a fair point. For a light user, hitting 4,000 cycles might take a lifetime.
Right.
But that longevity fundamentally alters the return on investment. You are no longer purchasing a degrading consumable that will inevitably fail you. Because of the inherent chemical stability, the capacity you purchase today is remarkably close to the capacity you will still have a decade down the line when an unexpected multi-day outage finally hits.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about not having to buy it again in 3 years.
Exactly. It transforms the purchase from a temporary gadget into a dependable part of a permanent home office policy. And, Jackery reinforces this with a 5-year warranty.
Which is pretty rare for batteries.
Very rare. It's 3-year standard plus a 2-year extension when you register. Backing a product for 5 years is a massive corporate signal of confidence in that specific chemistry.
Okay, so looking at this massive lineup of products in the review, I mean, from the tiny 99 watt-hour Explorer 100 Plus you can take on an airplane, all the way up to the giant models, I would honestly be paralyzed by choice. If I am trying to build out a reliable home office contingency plan, how do I know which one actually fits my needs without wildly overspending?
Well, Felix Römer isolates the strategic sweet spot for the majority of professionals quite clearly. The review points directly to the Explorer 1000 V2.
The 1000 V2, yeah, the moment I started looking at the details of that one, it clicked why this is considered the Goldilocks unit. Let's look at how this specs translate to everyday use.
Let's do it.
It houses 1,070 watt-hours of capacity. It delivers 1,500 watts of continuous output across 3 standard AC outlets with a 3,000-watt surge peak for when heavy devices first power on.
Which is plenty for most desk setup.
Oh, totally. And it also includes a 100-watt USB-C port, which means you can leave your clunky, heavy laptop power brick in the drawer and just run a single cable straight to the battery.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. And the physical footprint plays a major role in its utility, too. It weighs in at 23.8 pounds.
I assumed a battery with that much capacity would be a massive backbreaker, but under 24 pounds means you can genuinely carry it out of the garage and into the living room with one hand.
Exactly. It's very manageable.
And the economics are compelling. It hovers around $549, breaking down to roughly 51 cents per watt hour. But the feature that changes the entire workflow for me is the recharge speed. You plug this specific model into a standard wall outlet, and it goes from completely empty to 100% full in about 1.6 hours.
And you have to think about what that 1.6-hour window means in the context of, say, rolling blackouts.
Oh, that's true.
If a regional grid operator is shedding load during a historic heat wave, your neighborhood might only get power for 2 hours before they cut you off again. If your backup battery takes 8 hours to charge, you are mathematically losing ground every single day.
You'd never catch up.
Right. Fast charging allows you to completely refill your backup system within that tiny, unpredictable window of opportunity. You extract what you need from the grid the absolute moment it becomes available.
But the absolute standout feature for professionals on this V2 model, the thing that really acts as the ultimate digital safety net, is the sub-20 millisecond UPS switchover. Uninterruptible power supply. I want to explain this mechanically because it is brilliant.
Go for it.
Think of it like a perfectly executed baton pass in a relay race. The runner passing the baton does it so smoothly that the baton never loses its forward momentum. In this scenario, you plug the Jackery into the wall and your desktop computer, your router, or your NAS drive into the Jackery.
And when the power drops.
Exactly. When the grid drops, the battery takes over the relay race in less than 20 milliseconds. Your computer literally never realizes the primary power source disappeared.
The implications for business continuity there are massive. A sub-20 millisecond switchover is the difference between missing a high-stakes client presentation and seamlessly powering through it while the rest of your neighborhood sits in the dark.
It's incredible peace of mind.
It is. And we are seeing equipment budgets for this exact type of hardware increasingly falling under the remit of corporate roles like the Chief Remote Officer.
Wow, Chief Remote Officer, that's a real title now.
It is. Forward-thinking companies are realizing that they have to decentralize their reliability. They're pushing the infrastructure safety net all the way to the employee's living room.
I actually have a personal nightmare scenario that this perfectly solves.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I was exporting a massive multi-hour audio project he'd been rendering for an hour. A thunderstorm rolled through, the lights flickered for maybe 1 full second, and my computer instantly shut down.
Oh, no.
The file corrupted. I lost an entire day of work over a 1-second grid hiccup. A UPS completely eliminates that vulnerability.
Absolutely.
But what happens on day 4 of a regional blackout? What if a desk setup isn't enough and you are dealing with a severe winter storm where you need to keep a refrigerator running, or a furnace fan, or even power tools on a remote job site? Because the review heavily explores scaling up beyond the 1000 V2.
Yeah, moving past the sweet spot introduces the heavy-duty tier. The review highlights the Explorer 2000 V2, which is priced at roughly $899.
Okay.
That unit essentially doubles your capacity to 2,042 watt-hours and bumps the continuous output to 2,200 watts. It retains a remarkably fast charge time of about 1.75 hours, but at nearly 40 pounds, it crosses the threshold from highly portable to, semi-stationary.
You're not carrying that around with one hand.
No, definitely not. But that is the capacity tier where running a mid-sized refrigerator through a long multi-day outage becomes a highly realistic operational plan.
But the article takes a step further into true whole home contingency planning with the modular route, the Explorer 2000 Plus.
Yeah, the 2000 Plus represents an entirely different architectural philosophy. It shares that same 2,042 watt-hour core capacity as the standard 2000 V2, but it pushes 3,000 watts of continuous power.
Wow.
And crucially, it is built on a wheeled chassis with a telescoping handle, somewhat like rolling luggage.
Oh, so they solved the weight problem by just putting it on wheels.
Exactly. Because it is designed from the ground up to be physically expanded. You can stack add-on expansion batteries to scale that single system all the way toward a massive 24 kilowatt hours of total storage.
24 kilowatt hours. That's approaching electric car territory.
It is. Furthermore, if you pair 2 of the main core units together, you unlock 240-volt output.
Meaning you can run the big stuff.
Right, allowing you to run heavy hydro appliances like a well pump or a central air unit that a single 120-volt station simply cannot serve.
24 kilowatt hours is an unbelievable amount of localized storage. But eventually, even a battery the size of a small refrigerator runs out of juice if the grid stays down indefinitely. How do you recharge when the wall socket is dead for a week?
Right, you need generation, not just storage.
Exactly. The review transitions into the physical realities of going completely off-grid with solar power. It covers the solar saga panels, ranging from the highly portable 40 Air up to the massive 500X.
The solar tech is getting really impressive.
It is. They specifically highlight the 200-watt bifacial panels, noting a 24.3% conversion efficiency and an IP68 water resistance rating. The bifacial aspect is fascinating, by the way. It means the back of the panel can actually pick up reflected ambient light from the ground, like bouncing off white snow or light concrete, just to squeeze out a few extra watts of power.
Yeah, while the technology is impressive, the review provides a harsh, deeply necessary reality check separating solar marketing aesthetics from real-world physics.
Oh, I love this part.
You often see pristine marketing photos featuring a solar panel casually tossed onto a grassy alpine meadow, powering a laptop perfectly.
Looking totally flawless.
Exactly. But the physical demands of solar generation are profoundly less forgiving. A panel rated for 100 watts is rarely, if ever, going to deliver 100 actual watts to your battery.
Right.
Real-world output is dictated by the precise angle of the sun, the ambient temperature, atmospheric haze, and even microscopic dust on the glass. A panel lying flat on the ground in the mid-afternoon will drastically underperform compared to one mathematically angled directly at the sun's trajectory.
And the review notes a sobering statistic. It takes the better part of an entire day of ideal sunlight to fill a 1,000 watt-hour station with a single 100-watt panel. If you're trying to work in a hazy November environment, you might be out of luck.
And that physical limitation is exactly why 2-panel configurations are heavily prioritized for serious setups. Adding a second panel roughly halves your charge window.
Which makes a huge difference in winter.
In practical terms, it's often the definitive difference between completing a full charge during the limited daylight hours of winter and coming up dangerously short before the sun sets.
So what does this all mean for the user out in the field? How do you know if you're actually charging or just slowly dying?
The interface solves this, and the review heavily praises Jackery's commitment to honest, highly legible diagnostic displays. The screens show live incoming watts and live outgoing watts simultaneously.
That seems like a small detail, but it's huge.
It sounds like a basic feature, but it fundamentally shifts the user's relationship with the hardware. A professional can glance at the screen and instantly balance their device draw against incoming solar power.
Okay, give me an example of how that works in practice.
Well, if the input display reads 120 watts and the output display reads 150 watts, you have actionable intelligence indicating you are actively losing ground. It elevates the battery from a passive bucket of stored energy into an active, vital energy management tool.
The agency that provides is incredible. You look at the screen, realize you are operating at a 30-watt deficit, and you can make a strategic choice. Okay, I need to unplug my external monitor and lower my laptop brightness for the next hour so the solar input can catch up and surpass the output.
Exactly.
You are managing your own microgrid. This brings us perfectly into the broader philosophical implications explored in the text. We've dissected the specs, the chemistry, and the physics, but the review synthesizes all of this into a much larger conversation regarding the future of work and human behavior.
It does. The availability of durable, high-capacity, portable power completely removes the hard dependency on structural wall sockets. We are observing this behavioral shift across emerging remote roles, hybrid blue-collar industries, and on-location content shoots.
People are just working wherever they want.
Right. Productivity is no longer tethered to the physical infrastructure of a building. A creator can edit a 4K video in the middle of a forest. A contractor can run heavy saws on a completely undeveloped plot of land.
And the article draws a brilliant parallel here. It notes that the mental math of balancing these off-grid systems, weighing the benefits of a quiet, emission-free operation against the slightly slower refill times of a solar array compared to, like, a loud gas generator, that micro-calculation mirrors the massive macro-level calculations currently happening globally.
Yes, the green tech investments.
Exactly. It is the exact same underlying logic driving multi-billion-dollar corporate carbon neutrality roadmaps. You are just executing that roadmap on a localized household scale in your own driveway.
Decentralizing power on a household scale requires you to intimately understand the mathematics of your own consumption. You become the manager of your own infrastructure.
The review offers a phenomenal baseline philosophy for how to approach this math. You must match continuous watts to what you can run, and match watt hours to how long you can run it. Continuous watts determine the brute strength, watt hours determine the endurance.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Let's dive into the refrigerator example provided in the text, because keeping groceries from spoiling is universally the first thing people worry about during a blackout.
The refrigerator is the ultimate test case for sustained household contingency.
A standard, mid-size fridge might draw roughly 100 to 150 watts on average while the cooling compressor is actively running. However, you also have to account for inverter loss. Turning the DC power stored inside the battery into the AC power your wall plug uses isn't perfectly efficient. You lose about 10 to 15% of the energy just in the conversion process.
Right, it's not a one-to-one transfer.
Factoring that in, a 1,000 watt-hour station will run that fridge for roughly 6 to 12 hours, depending on how often you open the door. But the hidden trap is the surge load.
Ah, the compressor kick.
Yes. You have to ensure the power station's peak surge rating clears the fridge's startup demand, because when that compressor kicks on, it draws a massive, violent spike of power for just a fraction of a second. If your battery can't handle the surge, the fridge won't start, regardless of how many watt hours you have left.
And the review applies this same analytical rigor to medical devices, noting the specific power demands of a CPAP machine, which is a critical breathing device utilized by millions of people managing sleep apnea.
And those run all night.
Right. The text points out a vital behavioral adjustment. Simply navigating the machine's menu to turn off the heated tubing, and the internal water humidifier can drastically drop the continuous wattage draw, effectively doubling your runtime overnight on a smaller battery.
That is such a good tip.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, whether you are running a life-saving medical device in a tent, keeping a server rack alive during a rolling brownout, or powering a refrigerator, all of this mathematics serves a single overarching strategic value identified in the text: sustaining momentum through disruption.
Just sustaining momentum.
The battery itself is merely a vessel. What it actually does is protect a worker's routines. It fiercely defends a creator's flow state from being derailed by external, uncontrollable grid failures.
I think it's worth noting that text briefly contextualizes Jackery against its current competition, which adds excellent perspective. It mentioned that if a user desires a massive, highly complex, app-managed digital empire that scales to a smart home panel, they might lean toward an EcoFlow system.
Right.
Alternatively, if the sole objective is hunting for the absolute cheapest possible price per watt-hour, brands like Anker, Solix, or Bluetti might occasionally undercut Jackery's pricing. But Jackery claims its territory through operational simplicity.
And that's so important.
You are not forced to connect your critical backup battery to your home Wi-Fi network and download a mandatory companion app just to make the basic AC outlets function. It operates as a highly reliable, straightforward box that does exactly what the physical screen says it is doing.
And operational simplicity becomes an immeasurable asset during a high-stress scenario. When severe weather hits and your house goes entirely dark, the absolute last thing you want to do is troubleshoot a mandatory firmware update on your smartphone via a weak cellular connection.
Oh, that sounds like an absolute nightmare.
You just want to plug a vital lamp or medical device into the box, press a physical button, and immediately restore normalcy.
Which brings us to the core practical takeaway for anyone navigating Felix Römer's review. When you are formulating your own contingency plan and preparing to purchase one of these systems, do not buy based on a massive capacity number that simply sounds emotionally reassuring.
Don't just buy the biggest one.
Conduct the math. Buy specifically for the essential devices you actually need to run during an outage, and leave yourself exactly one step of overhead headroom, not 3 steps.
Exactly.
If calculating your phone, your laptop, and your router indicates that a 600 watt-hour unit covers you for a 48-hour weekend outage, do not buy the 40-pound, 2,000-watt behemoth just in case. Do not pay thousands of dollars for heavy capacity you will never want to carry and realistically never utilize.
Accurately sizing the hardware to your localized needs prevents financial overspending and physical over-encumbrance. And analyzing this entire transition toward decentralized portable infrastructure leaves us with a profound final thought regarding the trajectory of our professional lives.
Okay, let's hear it.
If millions of individual professionals, freelancers, and remote employees are now successfully decentralizing their own reliable power infrastructure, utilizing high-efficiency solar panels and 10-year life-for batteries to guarantee their own uninterrupted productivity, how long until the traditional centralized corporate office grid feels entirely obsolete?
Wow.
If the remote worker's personal localized safety net is demonstrably stronger and more resilient than the massive office building downtown, what does that signify for where the future of critical work actually happens?
That is a phenomenal question to leave hanging. If you have built your own perfect impregnable digital safety net in your home or your vehicle, the traditional corporate office loses one of its last remaining foundational tethers. Thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast.
It's been a great discussion.
If you are ready to dive deeper into these concepts and truly master your own personal energy management, I highly encourage you to read Felix Römer's full, comprehensive review. We have placed the direct link right in the show notes for you to explore.
Definitely check it out.
And please hit that subscribe button so you never miss a deep dive as we continue to analyze the vital tools, technologies, and underlying trends shaping the very future of work. Stay curious, stay powered, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.